Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
We're at almost 38 minutes past the hour. That would make it 22 minutes till the top. 877-448-0433. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com is the email address. Thanks again to Conrad Haskins for joining me last segment. Talking about the Barbecue Institute and some of the common mistakes that people make. But helping me close the show tonight is a Centralite favorite. In 2011, his team finished third overall in the KCBS Team of the Year standings. Like Wildcatter, he will also be moving on to the Sam's Club National Regional Final in St. Charles, Missouri in September. Sponsor of the show, Pitmaster of Butcher BBQ. Help me welcome Dave Bouska back to the show. Dave, how are you, buddy?
Oh, we're doing good, Greg.
Good, Dave. Appreciate you making time out for the show. Before we get into the competition, Dave, you have that new Prime injection on the market that you just recently released. Can you tell me a little bit about it, and how does it differ from that very successful brisket injection that has been on the market for years and has been very successful for you?
Well, what it is, Prime injection is our beef injection and our Prime dust combined together in the exact recipe, the exact amount of what I use in competition. We've been asked for a long time to be blending it together, and we decided let's just blend it together, and we'll keep our other items. We already put together our beef injection and our Prime injection because there's a lot of folks that have their own takes on how they want to use it, how they want to apply it. But that's what the Prime injection is.
All right, Dave Bouska joining us here on the show. Dave, let's look at this past weekend. 5th overall, top 6 move on to the regionals. So technically, you're good there, but we'll get into that in a second. We'll dig into the meats here in a second. And maybe I'm getting a little spoiled by seeing you, like top 3 or higher at events recently. How did the weekend go for you as a whole?
We thought it was a great weekend. Just as Jeff was saying, the weather started out perfect. I got a brand new trailer. We pull it into Oklahoma. It's our first cook in Oklahoma with it. We're still trying to find where we put everything, but we cook our chicken, and we had a lot of family and a lot of friends there. We were stepping on each other there for just a little bit, but the chicken went in. It was a great-looking box. It was as moist, and it was a great cook for chicken. Just didn't hit the right table for chicken, but I hope I have that same chicken this coming weekend.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, as we take a little bit closer look at the individual categories here, Dave, 21st overall. When was the last time you were 21st in chicken?
I can't remember that. I don't know.
So it's been a little while then.
Yes, sir.
Do you just chalk it up to a bad table? There was nothing, as you said, you're hoping to turn into next weekend. There was nothing that you could pinpoint to a 21st.
No. A couple 4 or 5 weeks ago, we cooked a contest up in Great Bend. I didn't have a little more time to cook, so we had 60-mile-an-hour winds, and we was having some problems, so I attribute it to the chicken just not being perfect. So, hey, I got the score deserved there. Here, okay, I'd like to have the same chicken again this next weekend.
All right, Dave Bouska joining us here on the show. You go to ribs, you get 8th overall, so you get a call there. Let me back it up just for 1 second. If you don't get a call right out of the gate in chicken, Dave, is that something where you're like, I wonder how the rest of the competition is going to go? You're not getting that momentum that you were looking to build. Does that mess with your mind at all?
No, it doesn't mess with our mind at all. It's always a good feeling. And this chicken last weekend, I was waiting to get to the top 2 or 3 with it. It was, and I'm as brutally honest with myself as I am with anybody. And you can ask me as soon as we're done with turning in, what did I think of my food? And I'll be honest with you. I like the chicken. Another category we had, but we got a call on it. So maybe there was there was a lot better chicken turned in. And so I always compete with myself and say, what can I do to make my chicken that much better if there was that much good chicken turned in ahead of me? So that's just kind of the way I go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, we go to ribs. You get 8th overall there, so you get a call, kind of get you back up and rolling again. How did you feel about ribs this past weekend?
That was the one category I wasn't 100% happy with. Our ribs was as juicy as any of the ribs we've ever turned in. They were cooked really good, except they needed just a fraction more time on the cooker. I say a fraction, 15, 18, 20 minutes. That really makes a difference. Not necessarily for when we're cutting them and putting them in the box, but for 15 minutes later from when the judges, I feel like we're pretty good at ribs. We won the Team of the Year in ribs 2 years ago. We were 3rd last year in ribs. And so I feel like I know ribs pretty good. So after this cook, I was sitting there going, boy, I wish the ribs, they had great taste. They had, like I said, juicy, but they just needed a little bit more time for cooking. So that was my downside with ribs.
All right, we move on to pork. You get 5th overall. I'd mentioned a little bit earlier when I was talking with Jeff Brown, it seemed, some cooks have been struggling with pork a little bit this year. 5th overall out of 29 teams, definitely not something to sneeze at by any stretch of the imagination. How were you with pork over the weekend?
I liked it. It was a good pork. We had 2 really good pork butts we cooked. Process went just as scheduled. They came off just when they should be coming off. They rested. We prepped them. We put them in the box, filled the box up, turned it in. It was textbook, in my opinion.
All right, Dave Bouska joining us here on the show. And then, of course, you close out with brisket. You get 3rd overall. So 2 places better than you did with pork. Top 3 has got to be very satisfactory for you. How did you feel about the brisket? Did you think it might have been even a 2 or a 1 call?
We were hoping so. Brisket was really good. Can't complain about the brisket. We thought that the brisket was as moist. It didn't quite fit in our box. We the way that we think they should fit in the box. The boxes were handed out well after we'd trimmed and prepped and spiced, and they didn't pull up any more than what I would have expected. So we had to do a little bit of modification on the cooked product, but it fit in the box. Everything went good. We do a lot of slicing. I'm just a sliced guy. I believe if you can cook a brisket right, so we was happy with our brisket.
All right. So you get 5th overall, as you're being called out. And, I'm sandbagging a question here, Dave, which I'm going to bring up here in a second. But, as you're called out, you get 5th overall. I mean, typically people are going into Sam's Club, obviously, to at least make the top 6. Everybody wants to go and win, I would imagine. Otherwise, why are you competing? But you want to get at least to that top 6 cut, so you move on to the regional rounds. Where do you fall out on the 5th overall? Is that a position that you're happy with regardless of contest? Would you like to have, or did you think that your product was better to maybe be top 3, top 2?
We had top 3 product there. I like I said, I think the ribs would have kept us out of a grand. There was a lot of good cooks there, and congratulations to them. It's one of the first cooks of the year, and everybody's bringing their A game to move on. So, hey, I did good. Congratulations to the one that did better.
All right, Dave, so let me ask you this question, and we were corresponding a little bit today and last night. The top 6 move on to regional rounds in St. Charles, Missouri, September 29th. You finished 5, so you earned the right to move on. You're not moving on, though.
Nope, we're not going to go on with it.
What's going on with that? I mean, I'm sure people are falling off of their chairs. You get
I'm probably one of the few. I've had several calls from... Do what, Greg?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was interrupting you. Go ahead. Hello?
Hey, can you hear me, Greg?
Yeah, I got you. We must have dropped off there. I'm sorry. I was just asking why you decided not to move on.
Well, it's a reason I've got for myself. Nothing on the contest organizers. Troy Black called me today and was asking. He wanted to find out because KCBS had called him and wanted to find out, or when they found out that I wasn't moving on, they called me, and then I guess they called him, and he called me earlier today, and flat out the main reason is points. The rest of the series is pointless. Pardon the pun on that, but I'm cooking for points for the rest of the year. We're going to try and make a run for the team of the year. And as an invitational, it doesn't count for KCBS team of the year points. So I think it was pretty well shocked to them that I'm not going on, but I knew on the front side, and I told folks on the front side, and I even told the team number 7 that got the 7th place in the parking lot, be ready for the phone call because I'm not moving on.
Now, was the local event, did that count as part of KCBS points for team of the year or no?
Yes, it does.
All right. So you were just cooking this event solely to get points, and you knew right off the bat that you weren't going to be going up.
That is correct.
Now, do you get any blowback from anybody saying, look, we're going in, we want to move on, you're competing, and you don't want to move on, you're just doing it for the points? Is there any type of bad feeling, or have you been getting any type of response back by saying, well, if it's just for points, you're not doing it, I guess, for the real reasons of what Sam's Club Tour is? You win the local, or you get top 6, you get to move on to regionals, you get to move on to the finals, and that's not what you were interested in doing in the first place.
No, I don't feel that I'm getting any blowback from it, and personally, it's none of their opinion, none of their business. But what are they moving on for? Money. What am I moving on for? Points. What's the difference? I don't feel that the money is the drive for me. I like to cook, and I like to cook well. And right now, my drive is not the drive for the money. I want to win a points deal. I've got goals that I've set for myself, and that's just the way it is. One thing I want to mention and bring out is last year I didn't move on either. I didn't qualify, so I can't say I didn't move on. I'd already made that decision last year that I wasn't going on. This year I'd said the same thing. And then just so happens the weekends that was the regional and the weekends that was the championship, I had won 3 grand champions that weekends. I had a back-to-back on one, and then we had a single on another one. So that's 3 grand champions that I wouldn't have had a chance to cook at. So that being said, I feel like I'm doing it for me.
All right, so let me ask.
I didn't keep anybody else from not going on that did, because the 7th best cooking team still goes on. So it's not like it's anything major.
Correct. Dave Bouska joining us here on the show from Butcher BBQ. ButcherBBQ.com is his website. Dave, if we step back, we take a look at Sam's as a whole here, and I know I've asked this question a couple times to a couple different pitmasters on the show tonight. I've been getting some email recently about saying, Sam's Club is overtaking some local events that have been well established, and they're taking teams away. And maybe Sam's Club, a lot of people really I didn't hear any negative about it last year. A little bit more and more starting to come out of the woodwork that it's not as great as everybody wants it to be. As somebody who probably talks to a lot of pitmasters, and you see, and you've been to a lot of these local competitions before, and if you see them suffering because of a Sam's Club event, is that something that's just evolution of the sport that you're in, and you're going to have that, and Sam's might be pushed out in a year or two from now from some other big event that people want to get into, and this is just part of the process of barbecue now?
No, I don't think it's a process of barbecue. I don't think it's a process of it not being barbecue. I think anything barbecue is good for the sport. That being said, I think KCBS is a little naive if they don't have the hindsight or the foresight to look out and see that Sam's is just using them to get their feet wet. They literally, other than using reps to run the regionals and the finals, why is KCBS even involved? It's nothing to do with KCBS. I love KCBS. I'm a lifetime member of KCBS. I plan on cooking them for the rest of it. But Sam's Club has the means, the money, and the knowledge to go do their own thing. I think they're testing the waters. I worked a lot of years with Sam's Clubs, and I've got a lot of friends still in the business, and they're doing this. Let's be real. Sam's is doing this that the company or the clubs get is astronomical. The residual sales after we leave the parking lot is even larger. They see such large categories increases for a week or two that more than pays for the contest. So Sam's Club can benefit by building their own contest. They're getting the know-how of how to run it. They've hired a national contest organizer who is a cook, and he's very good at it. Troy does a great job at what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And I looked at their truck that they drive around, and I don't remember how many national sponsors were on there. Not KCBS sponsors, but Sam's Club sponsors. There was 8, maybe 10 sponsors on there, and they're paying $100,000 a piece to be on this truck. So that $100,000 a piece to be on this truck. So that being said, why does Sam's need KCBS? I hope KCBS has them wrapped up good with the contract, but I don't. I'd rather doubt if they would allow that to happen.
Well, Dave, if I could play devil's advocate here for just a second, wouldn't me being KCBS say, well, Dave, it really has nothing to do with, Sam's as the business or the entity or getting their feet wet. KCBS is merely a sanctioning body. We're not here to talk about purses or anything like that. If they want to come and they want to use our rules, we provide representation, we provide the standards of rules, and that's all we're interested in.
That's true, but then let's step back again. This happened Monday to me. This is the thing that got me thinking this, and this is what got me a little bit, how can I say, wondering what's really going on. One of the things you ask is, Sam's good for the sport? Yes, is Sam's Club good? Is Sam's Club's tour good for the other contest? I don't think KCBS is treating the other contest fairly. Here recently, KCBS made a statement in the board of directors meeting and is now forcing all the contests to, they said they just don't have time to keep up with the grand champion winners and give them to the American Royal and the Jack. So it's up to us to do our own stuff with the organizers. But on the other hand, Monday morning, the first business day after the contest, a KCBS office lady calls me on KCBS time, phone numbers and all, and trying to get me to sign up for the next level. That was their job. But wait a minute. You can spend time to do this, but you can't keystroke a computer and send the American Royal that information. Just things to think about.
So what's your satisfaction level right now on a scale of 1 to 10?
Of what?
Just about the state of KCBS and who they're in, I don't want to say in bed with per se, but if you have such an overwhelming, and maybe it's not as overwhelming as I am under the impression of, Dave, because you certainly see these guys a lot more, but as I talk to more and more pitmasters, there really hasn't been a lot of negative necessarily. There's been a lot of positive talk about, promotion of barbecue, but from what I gather, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for Sam's to pull out at some point and start their own barbecue competition sanctioning body or series for that matter that had nothing to do with KCBS altogether. That wouldn't surprise you.
No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I absolutely love KCBS. I think the people that work up in that office work their hearts out. They work very hard for the cooks. Contrary to a lot of opinions, they've got the excuse me, they've got the vibe of KCBS, and and they really do care. And I think 99% of the cooks care too. It's just that the ones that you hear about mostly is that 1%er. I think KCBS is strong. I think they're on the right go. I love where they're going with the barbecue. They're really promoting the sport for everything. I just wish that they would, if they would take a step back and look at what they just did. I don't think there's some of the rules that are the best. That's just my opinion. That's just outside looking in. I'm not on the inside of that. I like KCBS. Don't get me wrong. I really, really like everything they're doing. Gosh, that's a hard one to finish out with. But anyway, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you can't ever be in a perfect situation, so there's obviously going to be ways that you can grow, but from at least from what I'm gathering, you're appreciating what KCBS has done and what they're doing, and obviously there's always going to be room for improvement, just like there is here on the show, as always. Dave, you are by far going crazy in the chat room right now with people wanting you to run for president of KCBS, of the United States of America. They want you to be on for a full hour instead of 30 minutes. Quite frankly, I've blown out my whole clock just so I could give you a little bit room to move here, as people are saying this is another classic appearance from Dave Bouska. Why don't you just move to Cleveland, get a microphone, and we can just co-host this bad bitch together? What about that? No?
Well, I'm not going to say move to Cleveland. No, I kind of like my Oklahoma weather. I appreciate the offer, though.
Yeah, no problem.
Dave, maybe I'll have to send you a do-rag.
Let's go ahead and do Survey Tuesday questions really quickly while I have you before I let you go. Question number 1, are ceramic cookers overrated?
I'll be honest with you, I've never cooked on a ceramic cooker, so I'm going to have to plead the fifth on that.
All right, question number 2. Oh, jeez. Is the Sam's Club National Tour good or bad for barbecue?
The tour is good for barbecue.
All right, good for barbecue. Question number 3, hot and fast or low and slow?
I'm a low and slow guy.
Is hot and fast a fad, or do you think that's something that's just going to continue on through the annals of competition barbecue?
Now, the guys that cook hot and fast, you have to learn how to do that, and those that do it are very good at what they do. Hot and fast has got its place.
All right, Dave Bouska, you know him. He is Butcher BBQ, the competition team, butcherbbq.com, and sponsor of this show, which we are very proud to have him. Dave, appreciate the time tonight. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Greg. Can I throw something out real quick?
Go.
All right. I get emails every week for classes and stuff. I'm keeping every one of those emails. We are working on a class in Southern California at this point. Ooh. It is almost finalized. We're real close. It will be the end of this year. Well, I'm also working for one on the East Coast. It's not finalized. It's not closed, but we are working on a site out there. But if you're interested in one, shoot me an email, and I will keep it, and that'll be the first group of folks that know about it.
All right, Dave, always appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Greg, for having me.
You got it. There he is. Dave Bouska, Butcher BBQ. Holy moly. Another gem, as they say in the business. Absolutely. Wow.